So far we've used the mesh as a guide for directly shaping the surfaces. And I'll just fade that out again using the transparency slider. But a different approach is to create the boundary curves instead. So in this tutorial we'll look at how to create NURBS curves. And I want to create a longish curve so that I can show you how the CVs and the edit points work. So I'll take a look at this windscreen and roof profile. Now I'm working in an orthographic side view, so I'll be creating 2D curves on the center line. So I'll start by opening the Curves palette. And here there's two different curve creation tools. One for building with CVs and one for building with edit points. And I'll just start with a CV curve and sketch out this roof line here just by clicking the CV positions. Now you never get the shape right first time, so I can go back and pick and move some of the CVs to refine the shape. But what is equally important as the shape is the structure. And we can see that over here in the control panel. And I've got degree 3 and 3 spans. Now we have a golden rule that says one span is best, and I'm going to use the curvature tool down here on the locators palette to show you why. If I apply that to the curve, I can use my mouse buttons to increase the samples and to change the height. And here you can see that the curve has some glitches. So let me just turn off the CV display so I can see only the edit points. And I can make those easier to see by using the Draw Style tool on the Object Edit menu. And in the option window I can choose a larger icon for the edit points. And then we can see that these glitches occur where the edit points are. And the edit points show the spans. So this curve has 3 spans. So let's just move that out of the way and look at a couple of different ways to create that curve. If I go to the CV curve and open up the option window, you can see that the degree was set to 3. If I set this to 7 instead, then watch the control panel as I create the curve. And you can see that it's increasing the degree, not the spans, up to a maximum of degree 7. So if I'm careful, I can keep it as a single span. And the golden rules say that a single span is always smooth. So if I apply the cone plot, you can see that it's much smoother. But I'm still really guessing where these CVs should be when I first place them. And I'll always need to go back and adjust them to get the right shape. So let's move both of these out of the way and then take a look at a better way of creating curves. What most alias modelers do is use the edit point creation tool instead of using CVs, and then create a single span by simply clicking at the start and the end to stretch out the curve. And then again we just pick the CVs and start to move them into place like we did before. And if we need more CVs to get the shape that we want, we can just increase the degree over here and say accept. And then carry on shaping the curve by picking and moving the CVs. And what tends to happen is that you end up with fewer CVs and they're better distributed along the curve. And if I put the cone plot onto this single span curve, you'll see that again we have a much smoother result. And I can continue to adjust it using the cone plot as a guide. Now what you're aiming for is a good flow of CVs controlling the curve. And a good way to check this is to use the extend tool to see if they will extend cleanly. So if you get a result like this, it shows that there's some unwanted curvature in the original curve, which you can already see from the cone plot. Whereas the one I created with the edit points has a better shape and extends really cleanly. So I'll just get rid of those two. And to get rid of the cone plots, I just need to use delete and delete locators. And finally, let's look at how edit points on curves relate to isopalms on surfaces. So here I've got the first curve I did with 3 spans, shown by the edit points. And if I copy and paste that, I can create a simple skin surface between the two of them. And then you can see that the new surface has 3 spans, shown by these isopalms. And the isopalms appear where the edit points were on the curves. So there are no edit points on surfaces, only isopalms instead. Whereas where we had a CV in the curve, we now have an equivalent row of CVs on the surface. So just explore creating curves using the two different curve creation tools. And make sure to look in the control panel at the degrees and spans so you understand the structure of what you're creating. And use the cone plot to visually assess the curves. And if you want to understand a little bit more, you can have a look at the NURBS Terminology Theory Builder, and you may also want to review the first 3 golden rules.